the GTD. So the automobile world loves to focus on those vehicles. Now make us dream and have us do 10 hours or 15 hours of overtime thinking we'll get these vehicles. But they're a dream. They're a pipe dream. Ford's going to build next to none of these. Is this car extremely cool? Yes. It's going to compete on the Nürburgring. It's going to work. It's supposed to come in under 7 minutes on the Nürburgring. And it's going to be a Porsche GT3 RS rival. It'll either be a little bit faster or just ever so slightly slower, but it's going to rival the Porsche GT3 RS 911, of course.
Yeah, and if it's the look that it will finish with, it's totally perfect.
Dudes with wrenches. I love what he's saying here. GTD is a work of art proving the Mustang can be anything. Yeah, that's so true. Mm-hmm. It can even be an electric SUV. Yeah, because we're all really happy about the Mustang Mach-E naming. Again, the person who names things at Ford. I want them in my office. I'll fire them. I don't have that kind of power. No one will leave me with that kind of power, but people would get fired under my rule.
And it will be weird to have a Mustang truck after that too. Yeah. I hope not.
Why don't we have a Mustang baby stroller? Why not? A Mustang four-wheeler? Why? Let's just overuse the word Mustang until it means less. It's kind of like inflation. When you print off names the way you can print out extra money, the value of the money or the value of the name goes down. Now,
good comparison.
Why can't banks, governments, and heads of corporations understand this simple idea? Women understand it.
Let the Mustang be a sports car.
Women understand it. If you give it for free all the time, the guy's not going to be as interested as if you make him work a little for it. So you make me work a little for supper, and you tell me if I'm good and if I'm nice, you'll pick up the steaks at the grocery store, and we'll have steaks, and you'll make a nice little veggies to go on the side. Well, if you make me work a little,
make you work, because I don't know how to do the barbecue.
That's right.
No, I could know, but I don't want to learn.
Ladies know to
if you want your steak, you do it on the barbecue.
That's right. Ladies know to not give it out for free all the time, because then it's just overused. It's inflation. So inflation can be put on anything, anytime something doesn't seem scarce anymore. That's also the reason why this can sell for $300,000. One, it's probably going to beat the Porsche 911 GT3 RS. On the Nürburgring. It's a work of art, and
it's impeccable.
The technology is pretty impressive. The back wing can move up or down, kind of like a Porsche 911's but rear wing. The back wing can move up or down based on the needs. The suspension can behave differently based on whether you've got racetrack conditions or you've got, regular road conditions. The thing is gorgeous. It's going to sound out of this world.
I love that color too.
Oh, the Ford did a great job when it comes to marketing on this. Beautiful color, beautiful shape. Helps us all be more excited for our Mustang GTs or Mustang EcoBoosts that we'll have ordered or will be buying. I know for a long time I was really upset. And I was really upset because Chevrolet had the Corvette, and the Corvette was exciting. And I'm talking back like early 2000s, up until they came out with the 2015 Mustang. I felt it unfortunate. Ford had what I call, and what the auto market calls, a flagship vehicle. The Corvette brought people into Chevrolet dealerships, because they're like, wow, Corvette's exciting. And people who didn't have Corvette money, who may never end up with a Corvette, end up buying, a Santa Cruz. But they're happy doing it because you've got some excitement behind the brand. Now, Ford's really, under the current management, Ford is awesome. They're pumping us all up. They're getting us real excited. They've got flagship products. And I still think it'd be cool if Ford could have a two-seater Corvette competitor to get everyone really excited. But the Mustang, they've been blowing it out of the water with these Mustangs. Chevy Cobalt, Outsider Reviews, fantastic example. People were buying up Chevy Cobalt SSs and driving them around like they had a rare, super rare Corvette race car. But that's because they drew in that kind of buyer. They drew in some excitement. And if you don't have any exciting vehicles because it's only the bean counters that are controlling what gets built, what do you have? You end up only selling to boring vehicles to boring people, and people who are happy having boring lives. But vehicle purchase is a logical decision for some. It's an emotional decision for others, and it's a mix of both for a lot of people. And if you don't have any emotion behind your brand, you're going to lose out a big chunk of the market. But look, it's wild these days. There's so much emotion going behind at Ford. I said I was going to have you control the photos here, and here I am.
Yeah.
Can you get up the photo of the GTR? So Nissan GTR. There's so much excitement behind Ford, with the Bronco, the Lightning. A lot of the new products at Ford under current management, I have to give an A++ to Ford management the last few years, because you're drawing in people who have these kind of cars. We're taking in Porsche on trade. Lots of Porsche models on trade. Lately, we've taken in 3 Porsches in the period of like 45 days. We've taken in some Land Rover, lower levels, all the way to some very high trim, high cost Land Rovers, lots of Mercedes. We drove by the dealership this weekend, and what did you say? Oh my goodness, you've got 2 Mercedes for sale. And I was like, yeah, that's just on the front. There's more rows behind. We're taking in BMWs, Mercedes. This week I'll be taking in a BMW M4 convertible. Why? Mustang Mach-E, the Ford Maverick, the Mustang Mach-E, the Ford F-150 Lightning, and the Bronco are bringing in the majority of the people that they're bringing in to purchase are from other brands, and a good portion of those are driving things like this. This is going to be quite possibly an F-150 Lariat Lightning owner. So we've got all sorts of interest. Now if we could just maybe rotate, show a few more photos of the vehicle. This is a high-end supercar. And the guy, this thing does, he's telling me it's roughly 3.4 seconds, 0 to 100 kilometers an hour. So then what did he go ahead and say? Oh, I'm looking at a Lightning. It's almost as fast, but I'll also be able to do some home renos with it. And I was like, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. Yes, it is almost as fast in a straight line. But
he needs to have the right bed liner in it, not doing the same as yours.
He's got a GTR, Nissan GTR. Clearly, he's not going to be cheap like me. He'll definitely go with the bed liner. And you're right, I will recommend it to him, and I applaud you for that. I deserve to be teased on that one pretty hard, and you're doing a great job of it. So Ford's doing a great job throwing out exciting models. You don't need to build so many of them that you end up having to give them away with huge rebates. You can have high cost specialty models, just like Ford's looking at a new model called the Ford Lobo, which means wolf in Spanish.
It's a weird name.
A lot, actually, in Mexico, the F-150s are called Lobo. Or wolf in Spanish, except for the XL model. So they're going to bring that. They're going to have a special edition of that. Now, we don't know exactly, can't promise you what it's going to be, but it kind of looks like it's going to be the opposite of a Tremor. So you've got your Tremor as your off-road model, and the Lobo edition. Now, if we go over...
And I guess their special edition is the Loco Lobo.
No.
The crazy wolf.
I guess you're getting cute, but for the GTD, 300,000, almost none of these will get built, but it's going to bring excitement to the brand. So you need to have some excitement on the very high end. You've got a rear suspension on this, which is out of this world. Just to finish up on the GTD, you've got rear suspension completely out of this world on this, because it's kind of mounted in kind of the trunk, you could say. So beautiful, beautiful vehicle. But the suspension's pretty fancy too, because you've got spring rate at the top, spring rate at the bottom. You can get different types of driving out of this vehicle. It would be illegal for a lot of races because it's about bringing the highest level of technology, which is kind of, well, some of the technology it's got is actually banned. So if you want to head over to Car and Driver, great read on that. You can get all the really nitty gritty on this vehicle. It's beautiful. The suspension is very, very much high tech. And I think it's worth a read if you're entertained by these things, but keep in mind, next to no one can afford one of these. Next to no one will be able to get one of these. Even if you can afford it, you won't be able to get one, but it does bring a lot of excitement to Ford and it helps sell Mustangs. Back in the 60s and 70s, first on race day, first in sales. Well, now people aren't watching aren't putting as much importance on the races because we don't race. We can't do any street racing anymore without getting arrested and criminally charged. So what's important is the emotion, the look of a vehicle, the emotion that a car company and its vehicles bring. And then also it's always fun for certain people to read and be impressed with this type of, technology. So that's the suspension. And you can see the suspension is up top here.
That's a piece of art.
It's a piece of art. It's pretty fancy. And you can see there's spring. I'll really zoom in here. That's as much as I can get out of it. But there's some less spun spring here for more comfort. And then down here, you've got some more tightly sprung spring for more your race setup. So you can have a vehicle that's both race as well and do incredible lap times on the Nürburgring, but then you can also hit a pothole and not end up with a chipped spine and a back injury or be paralyzed like you would feel driving certain BMWs. BMWs are notoriously really, really stiff, and they actually shake up their customer base so much that it probably kind of like shaken baby syndrome probably shakes a lot of adults, and that's why they can't use the blinker anymore. Typical BMW driver cannot use the darn blinker, and they just will randomly, turn in front of you.
It's not only BMW, it's 45% of the driver on the road.
On the highway, last summer,
yeah.
What vehicle almost killed us? Was it the Porsche that
Charger.
Wouldn't stop? We were driving our Mustang GT, no, in Canada.
Oh.
We were driving our Mustang GT convertible, top down. Clearly, we don't want to go 200 kilometers an hour. And do we look like the type of couple that want to go 200 kilometers an hour?
Like grandparents.
We're just cruising, relaxed style. And a Porsche 911 wouldn't stop trying to race us. And it got eventually kind of dangerous. So I did kind of stomp on it to get out of his way, but that's a different story. But when he took off, because he thought I was going to take off, but I just wanted to fake it so he'd leave me alone, I faked it, gave a little acceleration, let off, so he'd take off and he'd be out of our hands. What happened? BMW, last minute, for no reason, popped in front of him when there's, maybe 100 or 80 feet left. But he must have been rolling like 200 kilometers an hour, 200. Mm-hmm. And that was a near collision.
Crazy driver.
And then after he slowed down, and again, he kept harassing me. So finally, I was like, I'm going to accelerate for my own safety to just get out of this situation. And then the BMW threw itself in front of me. And it's like, blinker. If you use your blinker wildly, I will actually be like, hey, this guy might put his blinker on. He might pull out. I'm going to really slow down just in case. But what I should have seen is, oh, BMW, brain damage from the stiff suspension. I better just pull over and wait 5 minutes because it'll be a lot safer than driving anywhere near this BMW owner. But anywho, I digress. The Ford Mustang GTD will have both a suspension that can be stiff, rock hard for crazy wild good lap times, and also relatively comfortable because of this spring, what you call kind of double shock technology, where you get both comfort and race capabilities. Now the Ford Lobo, if we head over to Ford Authority, maybe we'll actually cover that next week when we've got hopefully more information on it. But the Ford Lobo, it's probably going to be possibly the opposite of a Tremor. Maybe it'll be lowered and kind of be sort of like an ST version, but for the F-150. I'm not willing yet to really say what I can I've got no educated speculation on this one, but I can say that no matter what, it's going to get people buying. Ford's doing the special editions because it brings in good revenue, and it excites people. It's nice to not just have the same, 4 colors, gray interior, 2003 Toyota Camrys. Every single one of them were boring. That was a mistake. This is not. So huge applause to Ford. But there's fender flares on this here, which is usually for off-road versions. But Ford Authority's talking about this thing being lowered, which makes me think it'll be more of a speedy version. But maybe the Lobo, maybe the Wolf, maybe this is going to be more of a desert driving edition. We'll have to wait and see. But we do know that Ford has trademarked the Lobo name, and it should very much be coming to us. It should have a portrait-oriented touchscreen, so think Ford Lightning Lariat style long screen. But that's offered even on new Edges, so it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a high-end version. It could be something that falls between the XLT and the Lariat, as well as a Lariat and a Lariat Plus, the way a Tremor package does, but maybe more street race oriented, a speed truck version. But could very much look something like that. Lowered suspension, we could end up having a pretty fast F-150 on our hands, without having to get, of course, the Lightning.